Hey YouTube, we're going to be going back into part 2 for midterm food storage options for the newbie prepper. Food storage solutions, how to store calories. So for midterm types of foods, we're going to be looking at foods that can be stored for 1 to 5 years on average. Before we get into those, we have 12 categories to go through. We have the best buy versus the expiration dates. Some people don't know the difference, so I'll go through it real quick. The best buy date just kind of indicates when the food starts to change in taste, flavor, color, consistency, and when the nutrition value starts to break down. And so that's something to be concerned about. You know, if there's certain foods that don't taste good at all, you know, when they're starting to get older. Some foods don't really have much of a difference when they get older. Like for example, Spam. If you're into Spam meats, you know, those things can last for decades. But that doesn't mean though the nutrition is there when you're eating it. So just be aware of that. And of course the expiration date simply just means that it literally is gone bad. But this is the catch though. Companies have a built-in cushion on those expiration dates, just so for liability reasons and just so they don't get sued, of course. And so there's been a lot of times people have found out that you can get an additional few months or even 2 to 3 years. It's not unheard of on canned goods, for example. So even though the average canned good typically is between 1.5 to 2 years before it supposedly, you know, expires, what we find out is that a lot of them can be easily extended to the 3rd and even to the 5th year. After that, though, you know, you would have to consider that the nutritional content is so broken down at that point that you're not going to get much out of the food. So it'll just be bulk, you know, going through your body. So it is something that you have to keep in mind. So as we talked about Spam, Spam's kind of the same way. It's so full of preservatives, that mainly salts, that it can withstand decades, and it has been, you know, shown to actually last decades to be edible, but there's just no nutrients. So let's jump into the 12 categories here. The sun's kind of at a pretty bright peak right now, so there might be some glare. I apologize. It's a little warm out here, so I'm going to kind of go through this a little bit fast. The first category is canned goods. Once again, as we already talked about, canned goods could be an option between 1 and 5 years of shelf life. Dry goods, here's some chickpeas. It's not really advised after about 6 months to a year. You don't want them just to be in the regular plastic. You can put them into Mylar bags and seal them with oxygen absorbers and put them in like number 5 pails and seal them with Gamma Seal lids or other types of O-Seal lids. Or you could simply go with pre-canned. These are double-walled, enamel, you know, acrylic enameled inside, you know, steel cans. These are number 10 cans. You can get them from a whole host of different places, which we'll talk about in a minute. These are pretty good in terms of just a simple food in a can. You want to go as simple as possible when you're buying some of these from these so-called survival food companies, because they'll throw in a lot of preservatives and things that you probably just don't want. But this is a pretty clean source right here. This is from Augustin Farms that you can get at like Sam's Club or Walmart. They sell that kind of thing. So, okay, so we got dry goods, which is probably better in that type of container, or like we said, in the Mylar containers and bags. We also have over here, the next number 3 is the larger gardens or multiple gardens, and then diversified foods. It's going to be definitely a great option. The further we go out into longer term prepping, the more resources and diversifications outside of just a food storage that we want. The next one is going to be livestock, cows, chickens, and rabbits, as we talked about earlier, but you'd probably want more of them. If you only had 2 chickens and, you know, for your short-term supply, you may want to have 3, 4, 5 more chickens, depending on your family size. Foraging wild edibles is another one. Hunting and trapping, as we talked about. Having a larger orchard, fruit and nuts available, and more diversification there. Seed sprouting. In part 3, which when we go over long-term food preps, I'll show the seed sprouter and the one that I use. There's different kinds out there, but sprouting seeds is a great way to get excellent nutrition, because what we're going to find out here, as you see, I didn't put supplements, mainly because at about the 2-year mark, supplements are going to pretty much be broken down. The vitamins break down. So you could, for the first year or two, have those, but after that, you're going to need to have some very high potent nutrients, because you don't know what's in your food. So sprouting seeds is going to be a great way to do that. You still need some sweet treats. Here's some honey. The ability to make some things that are delicious is going to be something that, just to keep things jazzed up so things are not bland, and something to look forward to in your foods. Spices, once again, just the more simple, the better. And then, of course, we have dehydrated foods. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. This is a pretty simple, straightforward. There's like pretty much almost nothing in there but just refried beans. And we'll just look over here and we'll see that it is just pinto beans and salt. So this comes from an OK source. This is the Provident Pantry. It's under a different name now in terms of the Be Prepared website is the Emergency Essentials. There's nothing wrong with some of their stuff, but as we're going to go through here real quick, the Emergency Essentials, Mountain House, and Augustin Farms, it's going to be a real hit and miss in terms of the foods that they provide. Some of them, and in some cases, a lot of them have GMOs. They're going to have a lot of sugar, a lot of preservatives, and MSG. And if you want to avoid those, you're going to have to kind of be real picky about these companies. There's really no, magic way to do this, especially trying to be conservative in terms of funds. There are a couple of companies, and I'm not going to try to plug these companies per se, but I'm just going to let you know about them. You make that determination. You got PrepareWise. I haven't personally done business with them, but PrepareWise is one of the top, from my understand, non-GMO companies. They have a lot of good, wholesome meals. They're very expensive, though, in my opinion, and from what I researched, going extensively through their website and doing other secondary research, PrepareWise is an option if you're just loaded down, or if you just want a premium short or mid-term cachet of food, then by all means. If you just want to just go and just do it all on the online and you got the resources to do it, that's fine, but it's just not really necessary. And once again, you have less diversification for the dollar by going that route than just piecing your own kit, but not everybody wants to be doing that. So the second company that I would recommend would be My Patriot Supply. Here's one of their Patriot Pantries. This is a 72-hour kit, but this one I have caveats. Their meal plans are extremely small. In fact, this one that's advertised as a 72-hour kit, when I went actually and itemized all the calories, unbeknownst to me, they call this an emergency food supply, and they use the word emergency in quotations for a reason, because it barely even has 500 calories at most per day. So you're only getting 1,500 calories you're supposed to stretch. And when I confronted the representative, the response was, well, it's an emergency supply, and you don't want to look like you're too well fed. You don't want to stand out in the crowd, so you want to blend in. And that's bull. If you're going to have an emergency, you want to have nutrition. You don't want to be in a starvation mode. You have to have your needs met. But with that said, they are non-GMO. It's a good option for that. And they seem like they have a pretty good handle on preservatives and stuff. Their prices are a little bit high comparatively, but not horrible. But their customer service is really a hit and miss from my experience. Plus, when I've asked them questions, they would dodge a lot of the questions, especially specifically about the calories per meal plan, or especially these packages like this one before you. So you got to watch that. And a couple of the representatives even promoted a fear-based response to, if you don't get it, and you need it, then you're going to be really, in super deep trouble and kind of thing. And I don't like companies pushing fear. I would rather that they just educate the customer and saying this is really what you're getting. But like with this one here, you get Granny's home style potato soups. You got traveler stews, blue ribbon creamy chicken rice, Liberty Bell potato cheddar soup. So you get 4 variations in this, but once again, the calories are very low. This is a freeze-dried kit, and you know, it's one of those things. It'll last like 25 to 30 years, just like this. These dried pinto beans, probably around 35 years. And these dehydrated, you know, right here, it's a good 25 to 30 years. So you have longevity and you have the ability to store for a long time. You do pay a bit more of a premium per calorie, but it's one of those things of convenience as well. So just wanted to point these things out for the midterm. Stay tuned for part 3, long-term food solutions. Thanks for watching.